All right, guys. I'm gonna see who comes on. I'll wait for a couple people, but while that's happening, I'll introduce myself. Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome to Minds Behind the Music. I'm your host, LA. Today is a very special topic because last week we have lost the great Chick Corea. He was a critically acclaimed jazz pianist, and he was a composer as well, and he's played with a lot of great jazz acts that I will get into later on. But a lot of people found out this tragic news on Instagram because he posted on his Instagram saying that, he died, like, it's with uh spread informing the bad news on us. Apparently he found out recently that uh he had a rare form of cancer that was aggressive, and I believe he died on the 9th. But more so, I don't want to talk much about how he died. I really want to talk more about how he lived. Now, what I'm going to read here is Chick Corea's obituary that I believe the Guardian posted. I'm just going to read right off it. I I won't show I won't put it on here because I don't want it to seem like it's another article review. So, and I'm only going to go through some of the some of the obituary as well, just so you have some insight on what I'm talking about. Chick Corea, who has died age 79, was a playfully prodigious, or I believe it's prodigious, jazz piano improviser, a versatile improviser, and a pioneer of the 1970s jazz rock fusion. Now, I know a lot of my younger viewers, or a lot of people in the younger audience that are not as, that ha- that aren't as musically inclined or musically informed of, of this kind of genre of music, but in the 70s there was a huge movement of jazz and rock and jazz fusion, which was a really big part of jazz and just music in general. Like, on one hand, you had Weather Report. They were one of the biggest jazz fusion groups of all time because, they had Jaco Pastorius, they had Joe Zawinul, they had a lot of big acts. I think Steve Gadd played on Weather Report, and you also had Chick Corea's group. You had Return to Forever. They were a huge jazz fusion group from the 70s, and and Chick Corea was a huge part of that movement, and especially with his compositions and his his performance style and his playing. Well, let's get into that. Admired for his work across many genres from rock and Latin to classical, he was also loved for his palpable delight in live performance, a quality that allowed him to tour relentlessly for 5 decades without losing his grin of startled gratitude as he ambled onto the stage. I've heard that from, at least from Rick Beato's. Rick Beato made a Chick Corea memorial post, or a memorial live, last week when the news got out of his passing. And from what he said, he saw him live a few times, and uh, he was very energetic, very great live. I heard from many different sources. I unfortunately did not get the opportunity to see Mr. Korea live, but I have no doubt that he was one of the best performers to ever be seen live. And I think anyone who's gotten the opportunity to see him perform is incredibly lucky. But here we're going to talk about the way he could compose. He could compose and perform solo piano miniatures in the manner of Bela Bartok, or write and arrange for symphony orchestras and string quartets. Bela Bartok, I'm actually not too familiar with that, so I shall look it up with you guys. Bela Bartok. Double check. Ah, Bela Bartok, or I think it's Bartok. I'm not exactly familiar. I'm not exactly sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was a Hungarian composer. From what it seemed like to me, he was a composer in the he was a composer during the Romantic era, the very end of the Romantic era, just like Franz Liszt, which, in my opinion, I think the Romantic era has some of the best. I think this is from my personal opinion. So if you disagree, let me know. I know this is more of a matter of preference, but I think some of the greatest piano pieces that were ever composed were from the Romantic era. And to be compared to a Romantic era musician or Romantic era pianist is probably a huge compliment. And this alone tells me of the skill that Chick Corea had, or and what he put onto his music, because being compared to a Romantic era composer is a big deal. A big deal. You had, and why I think that the Romantic era has such great piano work and such great piano music is because, like, look, when you really think about it, think of the composers that came from it. There was Chopin, there was Liszt, there was Wagner, I believe. You have Wagner, you had Bartok, you had Scott Joplin. You had a lot of variety in music in general, both like from all over the world, or not just in Europe or say Asia or anything like that. You had it all over the world. You even had it in the US. There was a lot of different varieties. That's when music started branching off. And I think that it's just such it's so incredible to see what composers have become of that. Specifically, like the influences that it brought onto these composers that we know, like Korea and Chick Corea. But I will continue with this. See, Bela Bartok, he could write and arrange symphony orchestra quartets and was equally in his element amid rock anthem firestorms, ignited by synths, howling electric guitars, thundering percussion, and his own knack for memorable melodies. But he was probably most at home in the timeless jazz format of an improvising trio with bass and drums. You're definitely, you mean business when you can kill it in a jazz trio. And I've heard a lot about the groups he was in. He's even performed with Steve Gadd. He's performed with a lot of other great musicians. So this man was a big deal. I know that a lot of other people like me, I'm not as very well into the realm of jazz. Like I'm not as I don't listen to it as frequent as certain other people would. I need the link. Would you like to come on? This is an open discussion, so I shall send the link. Hello, man behind the mic. The StreamYard will be up here, so come on here. I apologize. I did not. It's right here. I'll send the StreamYard. Let me just double check. Hey, sorry about that, man. Um. Oh,
That's all right. I mean, I'll stop by.
please.
I thought it was it today or were we supposed to go on Thursday?
Um, I'm probably gonna do a show on Thursday as well, but today is just a Chick Corea memorial
Yeah.
post, just talking about, like, how he was as a musician and how he just his style as well. And anyone who wants to come on the StreamYard is welcome to come on. Like,
Yeah. I remember listening to a lot of Chick Corea back in the day. This was back when I was doing jazz ensemble and stuff like that. Yeah, in order to get some certain bass lines I needed, I always looked to Chick Corea's piano playing. Very intricate for it's like a Latin It's like a mixture of Latin and yeah, it's like a mixture of Latin jazz, man. So it's like a very interesting mix.
Yeah, I've I've never really, like I just said before on before you got here, like I'm not very I'm not as well versed into jazz musicians and jazz compositions as, certain other people would be, and I'm definitely working on changing that, changing uh cha- cha- because looking all of this up has really opened my mind to really delve deep into the world of jazz, because I know that Chick Corea has played with multiple. Chick Corea is a great composer on his own. Like, I know he's done a lot for with the band Return to Forever. That's the
Mhm.
stuff he was most notable for.
Yeah, Return to
And
Forever, man. Those were some good good tracks.
yeah, I've there was I believe I was listening to the Light as a Feather record
Hmm.
a couple days ago, and I've listened a lot of those compositions, or a lot of those songs on that record are definitely definitely no joke.
Hmm.
Definitely definitely some serious musicians there, like the what is it? The You're Everything, uh the You're Everything 500 Miles High, the main title song. I think that was written by Stanley Clark, who was also notable. I definitely want to get more into his music and his playing style, because I know he's highly praised in the world of bass playing,
Hmm.
and
Yeah. Yeah,
there's definitely a lot to look forward to.
I mean, like I said before, I'm not really a, like I don't know much about Chick Corea. All I know about is his piano playing. I do have a few of his albums. I
Mhm.
mean, hey man, that's a class that someone can't even follow, man. Like try to do it, can't do it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
all I can say to it, man. Like, I mean, hey, rest in peace to Chick Corea, man.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot that I've seen. From what I've seen, like it's like he follows the common jazz formula, but he also adds his own spin to it. And I
Yeah,
think that's another thing that's another piece of his legacy that a lot of people are going to know him for. And like I'm looking up this song. I'm looking up the Wikipedia article for Spain. It was from it was from Light as a Feather by Return to Forever. The composition says it opens the Light as a Feather version of Spain with the adagio of Joaquin Rodrigo's Cuarto de Aranques.
hmm,
Gaze. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly,
that's all
but
right.
I after the intro, I heard it has switches to like a steady samba like rhythm, which
Yeah,
is which is I think very common. I know that Spain has a lot of those really notable Latin flavors, and a lot of that like jazz fusion kind of chord progressions and stuff. Like, I'll look over here. Chord progression used during this improvisation part is based on the harmonic progressions of Rodrigo's concerto, which it runs as followed. It starts G major 7, F sharp 7, E minor 7, A7, D major 7, G major 7 as well, but on C sharp 7, F sharp 7, B minor, and B7. So
yeah.
far, oh,
No, no,
so,
no.
no, I thought you were going to say something.
No, I was gonna say anything.
So far, it's just like mostly in 7 chords, which I know that's a lot very common in jazz compositions, and it's it's always I think that using 7 chords is very hard, but is has a good payoff if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
And I
Well, I
think
mean,
that
I mean, I think Chick Corea was well known for like melodic and pentatonic scales. If you really listen to him,
huh, melodic and pentatonic. Yeah, he might.
melodic and pentatonic. Like if you listen to a few albums of his, it's a lot. Like some of it is melodic and some of it is pentatonic. You just you gotta really really listen to it. It's
Yeah,
hard. It's hard to figure out at first, but I mean you'll figure.
yeah, and I definitely advise everyone that would be listening to this episode or be listening to this particular podcast or stream to go out and check that. Check the to check out his compositions, especially this one, Spain. I know he's notable for doing a live version or a version with Bobby McFerrin.
Mhm.
He's
Well,
done.
Imma head out, my man. Well, I'll catch you Thursday.
All right, yeah, I'll see you on Thursday, man. Thank you
Alright,
again for stopping by.
no problem.
Mm, Definitely check that out. Check out his channel, Red Sings the Blues. They just hit 1,000 subscribers, or we just hit 1,000 subscribers. So definitely check out that channel. And he does his own podcast there. But yeah, back to what I was saying about Chick Corea's compositions. Yeah, it was very good insight what Greg said. He does both melodic and pentatonic scales. Now, pentatonic scales are like the real common. It's the common scale that a lot of rock and metal musicians use, at least to with coming up with guitar riffs or coming up with bass lines or chord progressions. It's a very, very common form to use when you're playing on a string instrument, at least like on the guitar or on the bass. Like most notably, like Black Sabbath, they were they were a very notable in a very notable instance. Both Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler's playing, and I know that they're a huge like jazz oriented band, so I could definitely imagine that they've taken a lot of that style. Chick Corea is, and keep in mind, Chick Corea was he has almost over 5 decades of musical experience, so there's definitely some influence on not just jazz musicians, but in musicians overall and on his impact. But to what I was saying about the 7 chords, it's it's a very common use of chord progressions because when it comes to playing jazz, there's definitely more of a free form or a style to it where, you could figure out how to change a chord that's not even in the same key or not even or there not being a definitive key. Like from what I see in this song in Spain, because it goes from like G major 7, then it would go to F sharp 7, which would if we were going to if we were going to G, it would be like the 5, the borrowed 5 or the dominant 5 of the 3 chord, which would be B minor if you guys are familiar with your scales. But in this case, it goes to E minor 7, which is the 6th of G major, and then it goes to A7, then it goes to that D. So it's like it it's one of those common jazz progressions where it goes to like different chords. Sometimes it will resolve into a chord, and then another time it will be deceptive and go to a completely different chord, which I think from the way that Korea plays it, it's it's executed very well because when I've seen him play, or at least from so far from what I've seen him play, the version of Spain that I saw, which was with Bobby McFerrin, he what how he pulled it off was like no other person. And I would really love to play that version with you, only if I wasn't in risk of getting copyrighted, because I know YouTube's been cracking down on the copyright claims and of the music, and I really don't want to test that with this video in particular. But to go off from all of this, there's definitely a lot more that can be said other than just his performance and his stage presence and his compositions, which are no doubt some of the best you could ever see, and some of the like top tier musicianship. He was also a very, like, outgoing, active person. From what Rick Beato has not told me, but has said to his audience during his live show about Chick Corea, he was very active during the pandemic. He posted a lot on social media. He gave master classes. He definitely posted a lot. He was like went out there, talked to people. He was very open about everything he did and the way that he played. And we, I could not, we could not have had it any other way. To have such a virtuosic musician give a master class on his playing and on his like abilities as both a pianist and a composer is just incredible, especially during these hard times. Let me see if I could find some of a snippet of his like playing and try not to get copyrighted because I really don't want to take that risk right now. But I definitely want to see you guys. I definitely would like to play a little bit of Chick Corea or show you a little bit of Chick Corea's playing without YouTube demonetizing or blocking the video. Let's see what we got. And you guys definitely want to tell people about this live show, definitely come on. If you guys need the link again, feel free. I definitely would love to see what you guys would do. Oh, he's played with John Patitucci. He's definitely a big time bass player or big time bassist. He's more notably he's known more for his upright bass playing, but he's definitely legendary. That's just I'll try and show a snippet for you guys of, just how he plays and try not to risk getting the video taken down. Just a shout out to the Jazz San Javier of 2018. This is a performance from that. I'm going to try and play a little bit of it. If it gets taken down, it gets taken down, and we'll see what happens from there. But let's let's see how it sounds. All right, let me double check. Let me double check to make sure that it's the audio is playing. Double check. Okay, I think I turned the audio on now. I really I really admire that fluidity. It's it's definitely the way that he can hold those chords down and also at the same time be able to play those melodies like along with holding those chords down, which is a big challenge in playing piano. You always got to hold you like holding those chords down along with, playing with a melody or synchronized melody. That's a lot of practice and discipline. Like, I apologize for not being able to play the whole clip or playing more of it. I just don't wanna risk, YouTube taking down the video or copywriting it because, I'm playing something that isn't really owned by me. But there's definitely, like there's definitely a lot of, like, fluidity, like, you could tell that he was a natural pianist and a natural performer. He all those decades of experience really improved him, I think, and I think that he was definitely a musician whose playing got better with age. It's tragic to see, like, him, s it's tragic to see something something like that happen so sudden, like, to lose such a big time musician and composer and someone who had just natural fluidity in his playing. It's a damn shame. He it's it kind of reminds me a little bit about what happened to Lemmy from Motorhead, which is not to undermine either of them. Both of them are great musicians, but it was probably like, something he kept out of the public and understandably so. But it's just incredible to see like, all the love and support that came out of this and came out of all the respect that came out to this musician that came out with Chick Corea. Um And like I said, he's played with so many greats. I could even put I could even name a few. Like he played Return to Forever, which Stanley Clark was known for. Known for being in that band. He's a very praised bass player, but Chick Corea was another big deal in that group, Return to Forever, because their biggest like compositions or most notable compositions were of Chick Corea's writing, like from what I just showed, Spain, and from just the Light as a Feather album and many other records too, which I'll definitely keep in mind of. And another person he's also played for, other people he's played for Miles Davis. Miles Davis was a big deal in the jazz community, or he is a big deal in just jazz music in general, or 20th century music just as a whole. He kind of there he Chick Corea, just like Miles Davis, definitely had a more revolutionary form of composing and writing music that no other musician has done, which I think he's set the standard for a lot of notable jazz music that we know and love today, which being the chord progressions, being the fluidity in playing the piano, playing it like you know it like the back of your hand, which as you could see, he knew the piano like it was the back of his hand. And that's definitely something to keep note of. I also want to see what else he had to say, or what else the Guardian had to say, or his obituaries had to say. In the early 1970s, he investigated atonal chamber jazz with Dave Holland, a former Davis bassist, Miles Davis. And let's see, and others. Then moved towards more communal rather than introverted pursuits through his encounters with Scientology, and he experimented with airily vocal Latin jazz dance grooves with his fusion band Return to Forever, which was, very prominent in songs like Spain and 500 Miles High. A lot of those strong like jazz fusion and like samba like beats and all that other stuff. The oscillating between a rock feel and a more lyrical Latin inflicted vibe, the 1976 album My Spanish Heart joined jazz and flamenco music. It was going all over the Latin spectrum. I could see flamenco music like it's very I think it's there's absolute beauty in a lot of this kind of composition because he kind of branched off from traditional classical jazz and traditional classical music and jazz fusion to Latin jazz, to Latin music like samba and flamenco. It's just incredible to see what he was capable of in compositions and in his performances too. Because as I would recommend you guys do, definitely go and check out a lot of his songs, like specifically Light as a Feather and the let me check out some other records for you guys. I'll write it down in the chat. Light as a Feather. Light. I'll even write down the year if that helps. Helps when the album came out, just so you can find it. Light as a Feather. Here. Light as a Feather. That's the one album you should check out. Check out that record. And there's another record that I just named, and I'm not sure if that's just his album. Yeah, it's just his album. So I'll look at that, and then I'll send the title for you guys. Uh, oh, and not to mention, he is a 23-time Grammy Award winner. I almost forgot to mention that to you guys. Yep, he a 23-time Grammy Award winner. That is just an unbelievable achievement, and rightfully so because that's had it's one thing to win a Grammy, but to be a 23-time Grammy Award winner, that's just quite a title, quite a label to like to because the as everyone knows, the Grammys are the highest award. It's the highest award in the world of music. Now, it's subjective whether or not that will make or break a musician. Sometimes it does both, but I think this is in Chick Corea's case, it just shows you, how respected he was just in music in general, not just in his own genre, but just like commercially and critically. 23 Grammys. Let's actually look and see what Grammys he's won. I will pull up that page. Chick Corea 23 times. Correa won 23 Grammy Awards and was nominated over 60 times. Wow. I don't even I can't even name I can't name a single musician but that's won this many or that's been there. I know Prince is up there, Quincy Jones is also up there in Grammy Awards and Grammy nominations. Stevie Wonder's up there, but that's about it. Like I can't really name any jazz musicians cuz like I said I'm not as well versed in jazz music as say other genres. I definitely will be delving deep into this genre now and let's have a look. His first Grammy award, let me see. I believe it seems like it's going through just his 23 awards, like his wins. So his first win was in 1976, Best Jazz Performance by a Group. No Mystery for the album No Mystery, the 1975 album by Return to Forever. 1977, Best Instrumental Arrangement, Leprechaun's Dream. If you guys definitely want to check that out, I'll check that out once I'm done here. Best Jazz Performance by a Group, The Leprechaun. That is the ninth solo album by Chick Corea, and it came out in 1976 as well, but it won in 1977. 1979, he won Best Performance by a Group, and that was Friends by Chick Corea, which it features one of his famous quartets. I know he was in a couple of quartets that were big around the late 20th century. Best Jazz Performance Group. That's a duet with Gary Burton. Let's see, is it both? Oh, it's both. This album is both under their name, so it's duet by Gary Burton. He was a famous vibraphonist or percussionist. He was a composer as well. That's how a lot of other people know of Chick Corea. In 1982, he won Best Jazz Instrumental Performance with a live album concert in Zurich, Sweden, or yes, Switzerland. No, Switzerland. Yes, Zurich. I believe it's in Switzerland, not Sweden. Could be wrong. And it was on October 28th, 1979. And it was again with Gary Burton, 89. Light Years, another composition or performance of his. And best 1990, 99, 2000, and it just goes up. And he even won an album in 2020. Best Latin Jazz Album. That is definitely this man was a big deal, and he even when you're a big deal when you've won albums almost 50 years after you've gotten known. This dude, how it's 2020. He was born in 1941, so that means he was about 78 or 79 when he won this Grammy. Even he's even respected today as well as today, and that's just astonishing. Like to have such a long legacy where even musicians today or the industry today still gives you that respect. That's just incredible. Now let's look at that next record that the Guardian was talking about. Let's see. Let's have a look at that. Jones Bones. That's Chick Corea. Let's see, live albums, 1970s. Let's have a look at that. Bear with me, guys. I'm still here. I just want to have a look. 1976, My Spanish Heart. Let's have a look at that, shall we? My Spanish Heart. Ah, yes, it was a Chick Corea solo album. Yes. It must have been released in late 1976. and it was recorded in October of 1976. So I will write that down in the chat for you guys. My Spanish Heart. That right there, My Spanish Heart, 1976. This is a solo album by Chick Corea. I would definitely recommend. I would. I was listening. I've listened to Light as a Feather. I will also get around to listening to My Spanish Heart. Maybe I'll even do a review on one of these albums. But I'll keep in mind of everything. Just stay on the lookout for all of that. But My Spanish Heart, that's the flamenco and jazz album. Definitely check that out. Definitely just what I do is I sometimes I go by like, the records that people would recommend me to listen to first, like friends and people I talk to about music. Like I always say like, "Hey, what album should I listen to first?" And they'll be like, "Oh, listen to this album, listen to that album." I believe my friend from the UK, Tommy, he's another great musician. I believe I've done a couple stuff with him while I was over in Cambridge. Um, he recommended me Light as a Feather, and he's recommended me a couple of Return to Forever albums, and just to check out Chick Corea's music. And from what I've seen so far, this man was a big deal, and rightfully so. Like I jazz fusion is just no joke, and just these musicians really have go to great lengths in what their music should sound like, or what they want their music to sound like. And from what it seems like with Mr. Correa, it seems like this was a huge payoff. Now, go. Let's see. Now, these are the two albums that you should check out. Light as a Feather from 1973, which is Return to Forever, the Return to Forever group with Stanley Clarke and Chick Corea. And definitely check out My Spanish Heart from 1976, which is a solo album that Chick Corea made. Let's see who's oh, we've got some big names over here. We got a lot of big names. We have Stanley Clarke. He played bass on that album. Stanley Clarke was is up there with Victor Wooten, Jaco Pastorius, John Patitucci. Like he's a big time jazz musician. Steve Gadd, a big time drummer, big time jazz drummer. And I think he's played in a couple rock albums. He played for Eric Clapton. I think he played for Toto before. I could be wrong. I don't think he. No, he's played for Steely Dan. He's played for Harry Chapin, Joe Cocker, Grover Washington, Simon and Garfunkel, Kenny Loggins, Eric Clapton, those kinds of acts. And he's played on the Paul Simon song 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. So he was definitely he's big time drummer. So that what I see here is all top notch rhythm section, and I'm sure there was great chemistry between Clark and Gadd. And yeah, actually, he's had two drummers, Narada Michael Walden. I'm not too familiar with him. Oh, he joined Journey this year or last year. He joined Journey in 2020, and wonder if what else has he played. I'm not. I will have to do more research on him. Oh, he's played in the Mahavishnu Orchestra. They're a big deal as well. But definitely some top notch drummers there that seem very competent. Steve Gadd has unbelievable techniques. I believe that Correa has played similar to Frank Zappa. He's played with some of the greatest drummers of all time. He's played with Steve Gadd. He's played with Vinnie Colaiuta, which Frank Zappa has also played with Vinnie Colaiuta. And there's definitely a lot to explore there. Don Elias or Alias, I don't know how that's pronounced. He did some percussion there, probably some extra percussion. Jean-Luc Ponty, the famous French violinist, he played on this album as well. He played on My Spanish Heart. I believe Jean-Luc Ponty played for Frank Zappa as well. He played for the Mothers of Invention. I believe he played on the album Overnight Sensation, the 1973 Mothers of Invention album. and Gail Morin. I'm not very familiar with her. She's apparently a vocalist. Oh, she was in the Mahavishnu Orchestra, which I'll definitely I'll definitely do some more research on that band when I have the chance. But definitely some big time musicians, big time, very competent, very well versed, very versatile from what I've seen. But definitely recommend checking this album out. I will definitely check it out once I finish with the stream. But um, other than that, let me know what you guys have to say about Chick Corea. If you guys have any additional information that I did not touch upon with Chick Corea that you think I should have added, let me know in the comments. I definitely love to hear your opinion, and I love to hear what you have to say about Mr. Correa. He was he was by far a revolutionary composer, excellent performer, like very fluent in the things in the pieces he played and the performances he did, at least on the piano. And definitely set the standard for not just jazz music but music in general, and just like how you should go about with the chord progressions and how you should go with writing your music. It's just definitely a lot to take into consideration, which I might even, you know, study a bit on his records and a lot on his music just to see what he's done. I I know that a lot of other musicians have probably broken down a lot of the stuff that Mr. Correa has done, but it's just it's tragic to see that, he passed away so suddenly, and it was an instance where, it just happens. I know he was like he was very getting up there. He was 79 when he died, and it was like a rare form of cancer, but he's definitely an excellent musician, has a lot of definitely a lot of attributes that make him well known, very highly respected musician from what I've seen, a 23-time Grammy winner. That's quite a legacy, and he has the performances and the compositions to prove what made him so unique and what made him one of a kind in just his craft. And I think that's how we all should remember Chick Corea. He is he will go down in history as one of the most revolutionary composers and one of the greatest jazz musicians of all time. And and it was just so amazing to see nothing but kind words said to him about, what he's done for music in general, and just the kind of person he was, cuz he's definitely done a lot for younger musicians, and he's definitely done a lot for people that he was friends with. I know that a lot of people posted about him, posted nothing but kind words, like Eddie Palmieri, another famous jazz and salsa pianist and composer. He was good friends with Chick Corea, and he had a lot of kind words to say about him, saying that he was also a one of a kind musician. He was also a great friend, and he definitely put his heart and soul into his music, and that was you could definitely tell that that was his life's work. And honestly, that's how I want to end it, guys. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you want to see posts similar to this one. May Mr. Korea rest in peace. I will definitely I will definitely get more into his music now. I know that, similar to Steve Irwin and people with wildlife conservation, I think Mr. Correa has really, hearing of his tragic passing has definitely influenced me to really get into his music and really start listening to them, because I've never really delved deep into jazz fusion. I've listened to his Weather Report from time to time. They're definitely another great jazz fusion band, but I'm definitely going to check out Return to Forever when I get the chance. And I hope that, other people even younger than me, will take the time to listen to Mr. Correa and definitely check out and make sure that people knew what he was known for. But that's honestly that's honestly all there was to it with him. And I I'm sure he wouldn't have had it any other way. I think that he's definitely going to influence a lot of musicians later on, and we'll make sure that we'll keep his spirit and his legacy alive. But guys, I will not be doing a live tomorrow, but I will be keeping up to date with. I know I was very inconsistent last week, but I was just still recovering from my surgery. But for any updates, check out Instagram at LA Perez Works for, anything, any other updates regarding this podcast. Check it out. Check out my content on TikTok as well. LA Perez Music, yes, with the underscores. And don't forget to drink your water. I haven't done that at all in this stream, so I'm going to do that right now. Drink your water. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your week and you have a good Monday, a happy Monday, and a great rest of your day. As always, stay tuned.